Well, welcome to the book I read, Stories of Transformation. This is volume 2. My name is Josette Diaz, and I'm one of the co-authors. And I am here with the beautiful Sharon Wallen, who is also one of the co-authors in the book I read. And we're so excited because this is getting ready to launch on June 25th. So we wanted to have a conversation around what it is that Sharon wrote about. And I can't wait to dive in because Sharon is a phenomenal woman who taught for 33 years. And I'm going to let her speak for herself a little bit because I think that she has so many wonderful things to say, and it's only going to come out as beautiful as Sharon is in her own words. So, Sharon, would you tell us a little bit about yourself and what happened like right around the pandemic after you'd been teaching for 33 years?
Josette, it's a joy to be on your podcast show with you today. And this is great to be in this journey of co-writing and collaboration with you on the book I read. And congrats to all the difference that you are making in our community with your own work and stuff that I saw recently. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
It's my joy to be here with you. I was a teacher with Dade County Public Schools for 32 years, and I'm still a national board certified teacher, which in America, only 3% of America's teachers are national board certified. And what that really helps us to do is anywhere in America, we could be hired to work with children because we have passed um, a set of objectives and achieved a certification for a grade level or subject area that can just be successful with children there. I share this because my career was a joy. I am the first of 5 girls. We migrated from Jamaica, so you might hear my accent. But we came in from Jamaica, and I came over as a teenager into New York, and that's where my bachelor's degree is from Brooklyn College. And when I relocated to Miami, it was flatter than how, New York with the high rise. And it reminded me of Jamaica. And then I remembered that as a child, I wanted to do teaching. And then that's how I got into my career. Um, I retired in 2019, and there were some successes with my students. There was one little student, little African American, and I remember August of that school year, 2018, 2019, and one of my colleagues saw me that August and said, Miss Wallen, I hear that you have so-and-so in your class this year. And all I could do was really just look at that teacher because to be honest, it was gifted and talented students. So they traveled in a pack from one class to another, one grade level, teacher they traveled together.
Mm-hmm.
But even though he was coming from fourth grade to me in fifth, I had not heard any rumors of this child, and I'm just grateful that I had no preconceived idea of the kid.
Yeah.
And so apparently when children know that there's a reputation or something, they come to Miss Wallen, and he noticed over the course of his school year, somehow things were just different. He wasn't necessarily singled out. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't negative. And the expectations I had for the others to learn and the standards, he was held to the same standards and expectations.
Yeah.
And when I look back at that, there are writings that I had from him, and he used to think of himself as being cool. But Josette, when he left grade 5 and he left my class, he wrote me a note that says, thank you, Miss Wallen, because now I am cool. You've made me cool as a fridge. That's how this child, I couldn't say it any better. That goes to show you how important it was for him to be cool. But here was a teacher who had so accepted and allowed you to still learn and achieve and be cool. There was one day he even fell asleep, but he was in the front of the class. I didn't have him in the back. He was in the front and he fell asleep. If a child is tired, falls asleep, that's fine. I didn't stress him about anything. And he was able to walk away and say, cool as a fridge. And his classmates respected him. And those were just some little things that I look at. And I said, Sharon, what made the difference? And what it was, Josette, as I'm sure you would realize, it's that positive, unconditional regard. When we have that regard where they're accepted, and this is just to anyone, and we create that environment, a learning environment where a person is at peace, they're calm, they're not stressed out. They'll walk in, there'll be little sticky notes on their desk, welcome to class today. Or if it was a follow-up from something the day before, you know, good job on that assignment or whatever it might have been. And they're coming in. It might be a little mint candy on their desk. It might be one of those little Dove chocolate, because I love the Dove ones, because under the wrappers are those positive little messages. And they would read the message, they would eat in the chocolate. But what as a teacher I still enjoy is they were reading. And then they were saying, mine said this, yours said, what did yours say? But they were reading, but having fun. So,
That's
it
pretty
was that.
sneaky, Sharon.
Huh? Huh?
Pretty sneaky.
Yes, yes. But no, in retrospect, is after it's my looking at it that I see that, you know, the upfront was giving the treat.
Right.
It's when I look back, I see that where they were still reading and speaking and being cordial. Those are some good benefits
Yeah.
that came out of the treat, you know, and and then it was I retired that August 2019, not knowing that in that same school year,
Yeah.
2019, 2020,
Right.
all hell bust loose in our world and that pandemic.
Yeah.
And confirmed for me that my decision was just right, was just right. And but then we had all that stuff going on about mental ill health, distress. And then I realized that strategies that I've been using, journaling, writing, that those were some habits. And I love Stephen Covey's work of those habits, the 7 effective habits of highly effective people.
Yeah.
And the importance of having that private victory that gives us victory out in the world. And then that's where my book, Grateful Reflections Journal, was created.
Gosh, I really love that. Like, there's so many things that you've just mentioned. I mean, your student, first of all, I love that, you know, we all kind of put ourselves in this box when we think we're labeled to something, right? And so he comes to you as he's cool, which, you know, at that age is important.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
you allowed him to like have the space. And when he describes himself as a cool as a refrigerator, right? Or freezer,
Yes.
was it freezer or
Yes, yes, it's a fridge. Yes.
okay, as a fridge. So that the way I'm interpreting that, and I don't know if this is how he felt, but the way that I see it is like he was allowed to be his authentic self.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is the influence of that just makes my heart soar, personally.
Yes. Yeah.
And the beauty that came out of all of this was this beautiful journal that you've created. So can you tell us a little bit about that? Because it has a lot to do with the book I read.
Dr. Carolyn Leaf's work talks about the pathway in the brain of thoughts and trauma and how we can reroute them after 21 days and break cycles or patterns of that. So it's from that work where I thought, if I can create something with 21-day patterns, then then um, then that would provide source where people can use who just to create one, the optimal daily living strategies, and two, achieve some hope or something where their hands are literally building positivity and a good present mindfulness moment for them that they can break whatever might be traumatizing little by little. It doesn't happen often. And I've also shared with folks that if 121 days and then something happens in between, let's say on day 6, then a new 21 day has to start over. But that's okay, that's life. So the strategies in there include mindfulness, wellness. So what is an encouraging thought that I probably read or saw that day? So that is something that's the first thing that they write in the day's journal. And then there are 3 different ways because self-talk is so important. What I tell myself, as a person thinks in their heart, so are they. And thoughts lead to actions. So what am I telling myself? What's my internal dialogue?
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 different opportunities to write positive affirmation. Gratefulness is important, reduces anxiety, boosts our mood immediately, increases happiness. So there is a line in the journal, and they're all like they're guided writing. So it says, today I'm grateful for, and they can write a gratitude entry. Also, there's an entry where the person doesn't feel too out of control, that too bogged down with things. So what is my goal for today? And they can put an entry for the goal. And then not only that, but there are lines that the steps I'll take to achieve that. So let's say like in that 2020, 21, when it was published, like for me, I was just starting with the gym. So for me, my goal for that day might be, I will get to the gym today.
Mm-hmm.
The steps that I would probably take, I will make sure that my sneakers and my clothes are put out the night before. I will make sure that uh like I set my alarm then
Mm-hmm.
to wake up and so that I'm just giving you an example of how you have a goal and there's also a space to what are the steps I will take to achieve that.
Yeah.
And then on the same page, and all this is on one page, I'm not even sure how I fit it all in. And then in the PM, there's an evening reflection. Today, I'm pleased that and they can reflect on the day and write what they were pleased about. And, and then there's another little sentence, something I wish I changed or added and then they can reflect on that part
Okay.
too. And then critical thinking is important. So I have just a summary. The last line is a summary word for today. So when I overlook my whole day
Mm-hmm.
and all the activities, how will I summarize that day? And
Mm,
then that's that last entry.
I love that. And then this is the practice you have for 21 days.
Right. And in the book, there are 105 days. So
Okay.
there are 5 cycles of 21 days. And at the end of each 21, I have a reflective section also. So, we go look at the pattern I saw in these 21 days are so and so. The what I hope for the next 21 would be, and they can write that in. And there's also, because I'm doing it's brain work, left and right, there is a picture. That's right. The first part is the pattern I saw in these past 21 days is, and then you make a picture of it.
That's beautiful. I love that you bring that in there because I find that to be something that opens a different kind of doorway
Yes,
for someone to really dive into what is speaking to them.
yes.
And you might even discover something that you didn't really see. It sits in your blind spot. Can you tell me what the significance is of the 21 days?
What Dr. Carolyn Leaf's work does is it shows that in 21 days, what she notices is that memory and things that are traumatizing
Mm-hmm.
are things that are on a pathway in our head. They're in the brain there. They're just pathways that are just automatic, and they're just pathways. But in 21 days, if something is makes me sad and I reflect on a post in social media that was unkind
Mm-hmm.
and really hurt me at a time, within 21 days, if I keep it comes up, it pops up, and then I want to think uh, my work with Josette's interview, and I
Mm-hmm.
make a picture of that or write about that. Or if I remember, let's say, the self-talk with Josette's message, and one word that I pick out from what she said about dialogue, and I make a picture of that. So let's say the traumatized comes again, and I think, no, Sharon, remember, you are blessed, you are favored, you are kind, you are good, and these are true. You don't want to make up lies because they're not going to stick.
Right.
And these are true about the self. Then
Mm-hmm.
if I, for those 21 days, keep rewiring
Mm-hmm.
and rewiring, the significance, Josette, is that in that 21 days, I can. Now, it might take series of 21 because it took more than 21 to build the wrong pathway.
Right.
But when I read that from her work, Switch on Your Brain is the name of her book,
Mm-hmm.
I was, I was obviously uh, not only impressed, but I accepted it because those were brain strategies were also what I do in a gifted classroom.
Yes.
There
Yeah.
were things that you have to do with those bright children, and they're not all bright in the same topics or
Yeah.
the same subjects. They don't all have the same interests. But what they have in common is that their brain is alert. Their bodies might be 10-year-old bodies, but they can reason 11 and older on certain topics and things. So you have to have other strategies to help those kids.
Yeah.
And that was where things like art, music, just even drama, then group work. And so their assignments, I would, let's say something in science, and I would put them in groups, and we could form the groups differently. There was many different ways to form it. Sometimes I might assign it. Sometimes I might let them choose, or however things go. And we would work it and continue, and then have them present their findings or stuff. So I've always been interested in the brain thing, but when I saw that new pathways can be built,
Mm-hmm.
then that just added such a dimension to my understanding and such an answer
Yes.
to what we see in our world. And especially with young children. It breaks my heart when I keep hearing about young kids and let's say they live in a home, there's trauma,
Mhm.
there is anger, there's rage, but yet the child has to pretend as though we're all lovey-dovey and safe. Those things, and then it comes out, it expresses itself in other ways in the body. Illness, needs to go to hospital all the time, not because the child is sick, but when my eyes see something or my ears hear something, that is real. And then when I'm told to force or, to either, excuse me,
Mhm.
deny or replace that with something else that is not true.
Yeah.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. So truth is important. And when I saw that we don't, especially today when we're hearing so much about trauma
Yeah.
and, PTSD and things like that.
Mhm.
And when I hear we don't have to stay traumatized, with training, with love, with guidance, with help, we can renew the pathways inside there. Oh, that was a game changer for me.
So is that what inspired you to write your chapter?
Yes, yes. Because what happened, I have written, I have completed of those journals that I created, and there
Mhm.
are 105 days.
Mhm.
And I have completed between 22 and now, I have completed 5 journals.
Wow.
So that's a lot of 105 days.
Yeah.
And that was not necessarily from breaking. I wasn't breaking
Right.
trauma.
Right.
I was just sticking to a habit. I've always been a person who journals
Mhm.
and and write things out and reflect. And I love to review and be able to check things off. It organizes you so well. And
Yeah.
then especially when I learned about another advantage of journaling, that it gets feelings and emotions, or sometimes what I call just even overcrowding. Because
Mhm.
sometimes it's not that you're really sick or so overwhelmed, but it gets all the chatter up here. It gets it down on a page,
Yes.
and then you're able to look at it and say, okay, this is sad. Or like for me, some of my things might have been, well, this wasn't kind, what this person said to me, or this was, and so I might be able to look at that and assess
Mhm.
something. So I like that's a strength or an advantage of this journey. So I've always done that. But what I noticed was in writing those 5 that I've shared with you, I've completed. I have struggled, and I seldom talk about struggles. However, I have struggled with just controlling, say, I'm not sure if it's controlling the weight, but as if I wasn't exercising, it's not that I was controlling the weight. I just didn't, I was busy working.
Yeah.
And half of the some of the evenings when I would just go through a drive-through. So Burger King drive-through #1, Whopper with cheese, fries and a Diet Coke. Oh, that's a staple. And other times I'm at restaurants that I enjoy, and I love Alfredo, anything Alfredo. Oh my God, the white sauce, the cheeses. And so, after retirement, and then my doctor started to tell me about things with cholesterol, and they wanted to put me on some sort of whatever drug, statin or whatever drugs for it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I said, no, 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 I'm not going on any drug. No, I rather eat right and help myself. And they would hear it, but that's what I did. And then by the time they said, she sent me to a cardiologist. And of course, that's his work and his specialization.
Mhm.
So my God, he wouldn't have me, he wouldn't take my no, no. He wouldn't take my no. And I remember I'm sitting there on the bench, the tears are running down my eyes because as I'm saying no, he's also saying no.
Yeah.
And you need my nurse needs to call this in. So I said, okay, have her call it in. So she called it in to the pharmacy, and that's probably the only way they made me leave that place. Um, anyhow, I will share that I did pick it up.
Yeah.
I have not opened the package. I have not whatever. And yet, when my doctor late last year, she did the blood test, cholesterol is way down, vitamin D
Mm-hmm.
increased by how many counts? 50 something points.
Mm-hmm.
And between bad cholesterol and good cholesterol, the numbers are in the right direction. And that was not with any drugs.
Right.
So, and all that came out of my stopping and writing those things that I found myself in such an empowered position
Mm-hmm.
that I said, wow, this is the book that created these results for me.
Yeah.
And then I'm able to call the overweight. I can face binging. I've heard the word binging. I wouldn't say Sharon binges, but then I was able to see it. Yes.
Yeah.
Times when I would just flood myself with food. And then I would have to learn things about emotional eating.
Mm-hmm.
God, why can't I stop with these glazed donuts that I love?
Oh, don't even talk to me about donuts.
Oh God, glazed donuts just said, oh my God. And Publix sells them by the boxes of 6. And oh my God. And I will buy it and I might, you eat 3 or 4 and I might feel good about myself when I throw away the 2. And I don't know. I don't know, but I had to work on that. So it's when I'm able to come through that. And now I'm able to understand about the BMI and the body, the fat index there.
Right.
And then things are a little better. I at the gym, I now have a personal trainer
Uh-huh.
and that I've added to my program, so I pay him. And I'm noticing I'm not eating the donuts
Yeah.
as often. Um,
And you attribute that to this process
yeah,
of
definitely.
looking at what
There
it is.
was that discipline.
Yeah.
There was a discipline to it.
The
There
focus.
is that daily organization,
Yes.
discipline, the reflection, because the affirmations I'm telling myself, Sharza, you're well. You're
Yeah.
happy, you're an achiever. You can, so after 100 and something, 200 and something, 300 and something days,
Mhm.
then behavior also begins to line up
Right.
with those messages.
Yes. And I think that I've read certain studies about habits, and there are studies that, you do have to remain focused. And so
Yes,
having a journal that helps you to do that, asking you the questions and
yes,
the impact that it's made on your life, like being able to turn around your health,
yes,
and to walk by donuts more
yes,
often than not.
yes, yes.
That's a big deal. And so I
Even,
see why
even,
this journal that you actually created, it was one of the biggest influences of
yes,
your life. And
yes,
I love that storyline.
yes. And
Um,
even today, I'm sorry.
no, go right ahead. What were you
Now,
gonna say?
even today, I was able to reflect in the journal I'm writing, which now it's like a large sketch pad, the
Yeah,
one I'm using now. And I was able to write that yesterday, for me to drive past a Publix
mhm,
after church, for me to drive past a Publix and not stop
yeah,
and get donuts,
yeah,
that's huge.
yes,
Also, yesterday, for me to pass a Whole Food market
mhm,
and not stop and buy an apple strudel. Their apple strudels are out of this world. And for me to pass and not get those things, they're not bad. It's just that Sharon's control with them
Right.
and Sharon's health, it's not my goal right now.
Right.
And so therefore, those were huge rewards and results for me to reflect on this morning, that when I go to that particular church that I visited yesterday, it's an hour's commute to and from each way.
Yeah.
So that is why usually, especially by the end of church, I do need to stop somewhere and just get something while I'm still driving home.
Right.
And for me to be able to reflect and say, Sharon, your fridge is loaded with stuff. You don't really need to stop. You have nice cornbread that's already baked and made inside there. You have a salad. You have the lamb chops that are already cooked. For me to reason that and still drive and pass those things, because in the past, which is what I write about in the book I read now, which is saying eMEerge Cheerful. That's the name of my chapter. And what I'm writing is that there were times when I would have had that same message, yesterday's message would have been going on, and I would still have driven into the parking lots and done whatever I wanted to do.
Right.
But now, today, 2024, I am emerging cheerful because I am now achieving at another set of goals and another set of outcomes that I want for me. And that is now with the weight control, reducing what I've learned about processed foods and sugary sweets. They're not the best for my health, for nobody's health, but especially right now, it's not what I want for me. I want to get those things under my belt, under control, and that's the direction I'm moving, because I want to emerge. I'm supposed to come out of the process and at the end, and so that's the name of my chapter in the book I read. And that says, when I go through this process of daily habits towards optimal living, mindfulness, transparency, honesty, truth, if I drop the ball one day, I pick it up the next day, but I'm focused on what I want, my end result.
Yes.
Game changer.
Right, because now, like you said from the very beginning, you've given yourself brain strategies that have helped you to shift these habits so that you could emerge joyfully.
Yes, yes, yes.
I mean, it doesn't get better than that, Sharon. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. And what a blessing that you courageously dove in and wrote a chapter about your journal that can help anyone.
Yes.
I mean, I see that as helping all ages.
It definitely does. It's life skills, it's empowerment, because these are things that you can do walking, standing, thinking.
Yes.
And then you write them whenever you want.
Yes.
And these are things that you own, they become you, and you live your best life.
Ah, so beautiful. Well, I just know that so many people out there, you are going to be so blessed to read Sharon's chapter. And when we launch our book, which comes out on June 25th,
yes,
are in for such a treat. I mean, this is like a literal transformation that you experienced on your own, as well as the research you did, all the years of teaching, and just knowing what can emerge from that, which is why you so beautifully titled it eMEerge Joyful.
Yes, yes. And the eMEerge, the me, that's capitalized in eMEerge. So all the other letters are small because it's about me.
Yeah,
Everybody wants to, we need to be seen, to be heard. We're social beings.
that's right.
And it is important that we do what we can do and help ourselves. And we then look for relationships where we're celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
One research that I looked at recently, Josette, was that people will, like in social media, and they will share ugly little messages or ignore someone or be rude to you and just whether subtle or blatant. But that hurt that they give you emotionally through that,
Mm-hmm.
when you look at the research, the pain that the person feels is similar to physical pain
Yeah.
because that's one pathway the brain has
Yeah.
for that pain. So whether emotional hurt or physical hurt, it's the same pathway in the body. Well, for me, unacceptable.
Right.
Unacceptable.
Right.
So I would rather break away from groups or individuals that anything emotional pain. Oh, no, 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 no. Because I was shocked to see that it's the same route. So my body is experiencing it as though I'm in physical pain.
Yeah.
No wonder what we see with the children then.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
And poor thing, they're on it. They don't know all this stuff. And when people are just rude to them,
Mm-hmm.
they stay in pain and are hurting themselves in so many different ways.
Well, and they say that that emotional abuse is a little worse than physical abuse because
Wow,
it's unseen.
wow.
So
Oh my God.
I think you really have a point there, you know. Is there anything else you would like to end our conversation with that you would like anyone to know about your chapter in the book I read?
It's I thank you again, Josette, for the opportunity. And the bottom line I would just share with your audience, it can be done.
Mm,
And I open the chapter by I can do anything I want to do today.
yeah.
I set my mind to do. And I would say that for your audience, they can achieve anything that they want to achieve, given just the right little habits. It took me a while with that overcoming the sweets and getting a handle on overweight. But for me to be able to face it and call it by the language that it is,
Mm,
that's huge.
yeah.
That's huge. And they can too.
Yeah.
They can overcome. It's going to take habits. It's going to take little strategies.
Hmm.
And that book, Grateful Reflections Journal, it's not the only one, but it provides already
Yeah.
strategies that will be at their hands or fingertips.
Mm,
But everything says that habits, and again, I mentioned Stephen Covey's work,
hmm.
and his son even has a book for teens, highly effective habits for highly effective teens.
Yeah.
And private habits are what lead us to public victory. And no one should stay in pain privately because then that's also what leads to
Right.
public hurt and shame and disgrace. And we don't have to accept that today.
No, no, I think that, the work that you're putting out into the world, Sharon, is just phenomenal. And I want to thank you for being courageous in doing it. And I'm honored to be a co-author with you in the book I read. And thank you so much for your time, your heart, and everything that you shared today.
Great, great. I thank you. And I'm curious, Gisette, what's the title of your chapter?
The title of my chapter is I Thought I Knew Some Things.
Wow. Wow. And you're reflecting on which book?
I'm reflecting on A Course in Miracles.
Excellent. Wow. I look forward to enjoying that. I can't wait
Yeah,
to really get my hand on the copies.
I know, I'm
And
excited too. We have like
yes,
some really tremendous authors, and
yes,
it's going to be very fun. So
yes, it's exciting.
thank you everyone for joining us, and look for it. June 25th, we'll be launching our book. Woo! And again, thank you, Sharon.